Hi, good evening everyone. Today is the day 33 of the Gear Up Mains Answer Writing. Today we will discuss the issue related to the food processing sector and the industry. If you analyze the economic question, you will find that every time they are asking one question related to the food processing sector. So whenever you are making your notes, please try to add all the dimension that already had been asked by the UPSC related to the food processing sector. So you can answer any kind of the question the UPSC is asking on the food processing sector. So let's start. What is the question for today? So today's question is, what are the challenges and the opportunity? What are the challenges and the opportunity in the food processing sector in the country? How can income of the farmer be substantially increased by encouraging the food processing? So here we need to be address about the challenges related to food processing, opportunity related to food processing sector, opportunities, and then we need to be focused on how can income of the farmers be substantially increased. How food processing sector help in increasing the farmer income. Help in increasing the farmer income. We need to be focused on these three criteria as per the question demand. So first we will focus on the challenges related to the food processing sector. Then we will focus on the opportunity related to the food processing sectors in the country. Then how can the income of the farmers can be increased by encouraging the food processing sectors, and how the food processing sector play a very important role in increasing the farmer incomes and how it will increase the farmer income. So we will address these three parts in the question in the body part. We will divide the question as usual in the three parts. The first part will be the introduction. The first part will be the introduction, second part will be the body, and the third part is the conclusion. So in the first part, in the introduction, what we will write? We will write about the contribution of the food processing sector in the various kind, like the contribution in the employment, contribution in the exports, and the contribution in the manufacturing also. If we see, the food processing sectors is approximately form 13% of the unorganized sectors of the country, help in the 13% manufacturing of the food processing sector, and also help in the employments. So you can start your introduction by addressing these following issues related to the employment, having the contribution in the manufacturing sectors, contribution into the unorganized sectors of the country. In the economic question, it is required, if you are using your data, then you will get the higher marks than those who are not using their data. So it's required, please use the data whenever you are writing the introduction, body part, or the conclusion part. If you are address the concern with the data, that your answer will be like a more legible to the examiner. So in the introduction, we will write about the various kind of the initiatives. Like in the introduction, we can write about the GDP in the manufacturing, it's contribute approximately 14%. In export capacity, it's contribute approximately 13% of the Indian exports, and in the term of the employment, it contribute approximately 13.7% in the employment. It contribute approximately 13.7% of unorganized sector, approximately contributing 30% in exports. So if we are adding these data in the introduction itself, then the introduction will become very good as per the requirement of the question. Okay. Now we will move to the body parts. As the question is asking, we are dividing the body part into the multiple heads. The first head will be related to the challenges. What are the major challenges related to the food processing sectors? It may be the supply side issue, demand side issue, infrastructural issues, as well as the policy related issue in the country. So we will focus on all these factors related to the challenges. Then in the case of the opportunity, how the food processing sectors help the demand side, the increasing demand in the country, the population of the India, increasing of the urbanization, helping in the increasing the food processing sectors. Then the policy related factors we will see related to the opportunity in the food processing sectors. Then finally we will address about how the food processing sectors help in increasing the farmer income. So these are the three major ideas, these are three major areas which are the question demand. Okay, let's move and do one by one. So in the first part of the body, we can see here challenges related to the food processing sector. What are the major challenges? So first we will cover the supply side issue. What are the supply side issue? We are dividing challenges into multiple heads. First is the supply side issue, then demand side issue, then we will focus on the infrastructure issue, and then finally the policy related issue. So this is the first part of the question, the challenges related to the food processing sector. In the first part, first is the quality of the foods. Quality of the food. The Indian food processing sectors is not using the much technology. They are not focusing on the nutrient enrichment of the food and majorly the quality of the food. So there is an issue related to the quality. Issue related to the quality of food. In the case of the supply side, if we see the products of the food processing unit products in India is having the lesser quality as compared to the food produced by the foreign company or the foreign country. So these are some of the issues. If we are not getting the good quality of the foods, so its demand will be also less in the markets. So supply and the demand both are the interlinked, and the first part is the quality related issue in the supply side. Then the low value addition. Low value addition means when we are processing any of the products we are taking the raw material from the market, we are processing that products during the processing, but we are adding the value addition by the manufacturer, value addition like if they are adding any of the nutrient, if they are adding any of the vitamins and any of the enriched nutrient quality like the iron, and having the high nutritional value and the low in calorie. If we are adding these low value addition, if we are adding these low value products, then we can say the fragmentation of food processing industry, and it can increase the value of the food processing industry in the market. So the low value addition, जो unorganized nature है food processing industry का, that's lead to the low value addition. Availability of the raw material. In India, there is a availability of the raw material, but due to the supply chain issue, due to the cold storage issue, that material is not available on the time to the units. So this is one of the issue related to the supply side. Inefficiency. Food processing sectors are not using good technology. If we say in the case of the inefficiency, like the food processing sectors are not using the very high technology, so their efficiency is very less. Their efficiency is very less as compared to the efficiency of the other foreign companies or the other foreign country produce. So there is an inefficiency in the food processing sector in India. So we need to be focused on the labor skills. We need to be focused on the technology that can be used in the food processing sectors. Poor marketing of the products. This is also one of the major issues on the supply sides. If our packaging material is not good, if we are not marketing our food products, food processed products into the market clearly with a clear idea of the nutrition, with a clear idea of the बेहतरीन product, the better product, तो that lead to the poor marketing. So उसकी वजह से demand भी कम होता है. So there is also the decrease in the demands if we are not marketing, if we are not market our products as per the demand in the market. Innovation. If we want to sell, if we want to compete with the other established industry in the country, other established industry in the food processing sector, if we want to compete with those companies, if the Indian company want to compete with the other established food processing companies of the another country, then we need to be focused on the innovation as well. In the innovation, we can do the innovation related to the food, the type of produce, which type of produce is required, what is the mainly demand of the market. We need to be key factors, we need to list out the key factors. These are the demand of the market, so we can create the supply according to the main demand of the market. So these are some of the supply side challenges with respect to the food processing sector. So these are some of the challenges related to supply sides. Now come to the demand side. We discussed the one side, the supply side, but there is a demand side challenges also. The first challenge is the less demand. In the country, like India is the population of the 140 million, but there is a less demand of the food processing products. The demand less because of some of the many reasons, like it's maybe the poor marketing, it's maybe due to the less knowledge to the people, it's maybe due to they don't know about the products. So there are the less demand in the market related to the food processing products. So there should be a campaign related to the food processing, like some of the milk packets, some of the processing products having the enrichment of the vitamin A. So these kind of the examples, these kind of data you need to be added here. Manoj Tyagi is asking, the portal to upload answer for this question is not available. Okay, I will ask to the admin, so they will solve this issue as soon as possible. Manoj, thank you for note down this issue. I will ask to the admin regarding this issue. Next is the low consumer awareness. Low consumer awareness means the consumer is not aware about the products produced by these food processing industry. What is the benefit of the processed product instead of the raw product? So that's awareness among the consumer, the awareness among the value of the food processing products, the enrichment of the food processing products should be clear to the consumer. So that's why the demand will be increased. अगर consumer को पता ही नहीं है product के बारे में, तो there is a supply and the demand mismatch. Means the demand only created when the consumer is aware about the products. Social perception about the food processing products is like packaged foods are not good. This is the social perception, and this perception is increasing day by day, like the processed foods or the packaged foods are not good for the health. This is the one of the also issue related to the challenges of the food processing industry. Then we can say restricted demand, the restricted demands by the consumers. So they are some of the restriction related to demands under the consumers. So these are some of the issue, the demand side issue, which lead to the challenges in the food processing sector in the country. So these are the four demands. There are the four challenges. One is the supply related challenges, then the demand related challenges, infrastructural issue, and the policy related issue. So we discuss about the two challenges, the policy, the supply related challenges and the demand related challenges, but now we need to be focused on the infrastructural issue as well as the policy related issue. So now let's move toward the infrastructure issue or policy related issue. Policy related issue means what's the role of the government when they are focusing on the food processing sector, what the government can do, how the policy is not according to the food processing sectors, or how the policy is not framed according to the competitors. Then the infrastructure issue, ki how lack of supply chain, the lack of cold storage is the issue. So let's move to the policy related issue first. In the policy related issue, the issue with the regulatory environment. If we see in the food processing industry, there are various regulators. The regulator for the packaging is different, regulator for the quality control is different, regulator for the marketing is different, and the regulator for the consumer are different. So there are the various regulatory at the each steps, which lead to the regulating issue in the food processing industry. The various regulators lead to the inefficiency into the food processing industry. So there is a need to be work on that. There should be a single regulator related to the food processing. From the input to the output, there should be a single regulator related to it. Inadequate focus on the quality and standards. The framework of the policy of the government is not according to the quality, not according to the standards that's required in the market. Policy is more towards the control, not towards the quality and standards. If we see the most of the policy regarding toward the how we can control the food processing industry, but there should be a policy change. The policy should be about the quality, how we can increase the quality of the products, how we can increase the standard of the product that is required. Expensive credit facility. the food processing sectors having the lack of finances. If the finances are available to the sector, then the rate of the finances are very high. Rate of the finances means they are getting the loan at the higher rates. In the some of the case, they are not getting the much loan required to them. They are getting the very less amount of the loan. So these are the some of the policy related issue, the finance related issue. Inadequate focus on the quality and the standards. The issue with the regulatory framework means there are the multiple controller for the food processing sector for the different stages. So these should be solved if we want to establish a good food processing sector in the country. If we are coming to the infrastructure related issue, in the infrastructure related issue, we can say there is lack of supply chain infrastructure, lack of the cold storage. The current example we can see the tomato prices, the prices of the vegetable in the market right now at their peak. The main reason is the supply chain infrastructure, the cold chain infrastructure. The same thing is applied for the food processing sector. If there is not proper supply chain, if there is no proper cold chain, the product can be damaged easily. So because raw material का supply नहीं होगा, तो how the finished produce can be, how the company can produce the products. So these issues are the more important one. कि supply chain infrastructure and the cold chain infrastructure should be very strong if we want कि our food processing industry are strong. तो इन दोनों का strong होना बहुत जरूरी है food processing sectors के लिए, the supply chain infrastructure as well as the cold chain infrastructure. Then finally the land. Then finally to the land. In the case of the land, we should be provide like there is a land requirement when we are starting opening the food processing sector. The land requirement is very high. So easily availability of the land to the food processing units, like acres of the land required, and the cost of the land should be less. So these infrastructure issues are required: lack of the efficient supply, the gap in the cold chain capacity, and the land related issue, the easily availability of the lands without any issue of the land authority. So if we are focusing on these factors, the factor related to demand, the factor related to the supply, and the factor related to the infrastructural issue, the issue related to the government policy. If we are solving these factors, we can address the challenges of the food processing sector in the country. So let's revise the first, the supply side sectors are the quality of the foods, low value addition, availability of the raw material, poor marketing of the products, and the innovation. In the case of demand side issue, we can say the less demand, low consumer awareness about the products, about the value of the products, and the social perceptions. Social perception like natural foods are good rather than the food processing. The raw materials like the fruits are good in a raw way rather than they are a processed food. Then in the case of the restricted demands. So these are the demand side issue, supply side issue, and the policy related issue of the regulatory environment, inadequate focus on the quality and standards, expensive credit facility, the easy credit is not available to these units. Then in the case of the infrastructure, we can say the lack of a supply chain infrastructure. The supply chain infrastructure is very common requirement for the establishment of any of the industry in the country. Even if the food processing industry or the any manufacturing industry or the food and vegetable industry, supply chain and the cold chain is the requirement. Then in the case of the land, the availability of the land to the manufacturing units for the food processing is the one of the major requirement. So these are the challenges related to the food processing industry. That is the first part of the answer which is required. Out of these four challenges, like these four challenges we are listing down here, the first is the supply side issue. Then we can say the demand side issue. Then policy related issue. And then the finally infrastructure issue. Out of these you can explain the one or two issue, and other issue you can be write in the diagram form. Because this is a 10 mark, this was a 10 marker question, so you need to be have a word limit of the 150 words also, so you can represent in the other way also. You can explain the one part, supply side and demand side, you can write the other in the diagram forms and add the example there. So this is the first part of the answer. Now let's move to the second part. Opportunity. What are the opportunity of the food processing sector in the country? So first they are asking about the challenges. Second, they are asking about the opportunity of the food processing sector. And the third, they are asking about how the food processing sector will increase the farmer income. Shreya Sahu is saying, if you don't want to waste your money, do not admission in the coaching. Okay. Opportunity for the processing sectors. The supply sides, the one is the raw material. The availability of the raw material. In India, the availability of the easily availability of the raw materials, the availability of the food processing, the availability of the fruits, the availability of the vegetables, the availability of the raw materials, availability of wheats, availability of the maize, availability of the other kind of the millets, and the other every type of the raw material is easily available in India, because the agriculture sectors, agriculture production in India is very high. So it's the easily availability of the raw material in the country which can help in the food processing sector. Then in the case of the labor, the cheap labor in the country, the cheap labor in the country can also help. It's a very good opportunity for the country. The cheap labor is present in the country that can help for the food processing sectors. In this case, we can say yes. So in this case, we can say the labor, the easily availability of the labor, and the higher labor is also available. The skilled labor is also available with related to food processing sectors, and the labor is cheap. In the case of the low processing, we are making the processing units in the country, and these processing units are also supported by the governments, which can easily producing the high quality or the good quality of the product related to the food processings. In the case of the investments, now some of the private company are heavily investing into the food processing sector in the country. They are heavily investing in the food processing sector in the country. So this sector is growing sector and having the opportunity for the employment also, having the opportunity for the export of the food products, having the opportunity for the investments. So these are supply side issue. These are supply side key. These are the opportunity for the food processing sector in the country. Now come to the demand sides, market. The India markets 1.4 billion of population, which is a huge market for the success of any business. The success of the Flipkart and Amazon, the completely depend on the Indian market. So we can say the market in India is very large. Change consumption pattern after the urbanization. After urbanization, we can say there is an increase in the demand of the processed food. There is an increase in the demand of the processed food, and increase in the demand of the processed food after the urbanization, and also based on the easy availability. Now the processed food is easily available. If we are going through the Blinkit, if we are ordering from the Flipkart, if we are ordering from the Amazon, in the urban area, the processed food are very easily available to the consumer. And say it's like they can use, it's very, we can say कि बहुत कम टाइम में उसको यूज कर सकते हैं. Like there are the products of the MTR, 2-minute poha, 2-minute noodles, Maggi, 2-minute noodles. These are the processed food, and these are easily available, and due to the lack of the time to the current generation, they are more focusing toward the processed food. Increase in the income of the middle class. This is the one of the other region. There is an increase in the income, so the people are moving toward the processed foods. Urbanization, which lead to the high demand of the food processing products. Export potential, the food processing, even right now they are having a 30%, 13% of the export potential, and this export potential can be much increased if we are more focusing toward the food processing industry. So these are the opportunity of this sector. The opportunity related to the supply side, the opportunity related to the demand sides, and in the supply side, the raw material, labor, low processing investments. In the case of demand side, the market, changing consumption pattern, increase in the income, and the export potential related to the food processing unit. Okay, now we need to be address the last part of the answer. The last part of the answer is about how the food processing will increase the income of the farmer. So we need to be address the third part also. So let's see how this will increase the farmer income. So it will, let's see the policy level. Yes, also the policy level we can say how it can increase credit supports. Now the government is providing the support to the farmers. The government scheme related to the mega food park. Government scheme related to the mega food park, the availability of the finance up to the 10 lakh or the 30% of the investment easily available to the food processing units. Foreign collaboration with some of the Indian company that are investing in the India related to the food processing. So this is also the opportunity for the country. Now we are focusing on the last part, the role of the food processing in the enhancing farmer income. How the food processing can enhance the farmer income. This was the last part of the question. Reduce post-harvest losses. If we are converting the raw food into the processed food, the losses will decrease because the processed food having a higher shelf time rather than the raw food is having a very less shelf time. So it will reduce the post-harvest losses. If the post-harvest losses will decrease, it will increase the farmer income. So the both are interlinked. If the food processing sector is increased, then the farmer income will increase because of the reduced post-harvest losses. Second case, increase in the opportunity. Like now the farmers have the option to sell their produce also. There are the various food processing companies which are having there is a high demand of the raw materials, the raw crops by this food processing industry. So now this is a greater opportunity for the farmer. Now they can sell their products at the higher price. So this issue can be resolved. Great export potential. Farmers can collaborate, they can form a self-help groups and they can produce. They can join their lands and can produce a high quality of the products and can export product to some of the units which are established outside the country. Or they can also export the processed food when they are tying up the agreement with the food processing units. Value addition. There are certain kind of the crops which can be produced with the high quality, which can be produced with the high nutrition. They are adding the value addition to the food processing units, and this will also increase to the income of the farmer. If the export will increase, the price of the raw material is increased, that will help in the food processing. Opportunity for the farmers is increased. Now they have a bargaining power. Reducing the post-harvest loss, like the raw material having a very less shelf life, but the processed food having a high shelf life, and so the farmer can sell their product to the food processor. That will also increase their income. Alternate market opportunity. Now the farmers are only selling their products at the market price. They are not having the storehouse, they are not having the cold chain, the supply side issue, but the government is working on that also. They are providing them some of the opportunity related to the market. Now they can store their food for the longer time and they can sell their produce after getting the good price. So these are the market opportunity increasing as per the food processing units. Some of the food processing unit tying up with these farmers directly. So the farmers are producing those kind of the products which are required by these company. Like in the case of the MACD, they are tying up in the case of the potato. Some of the company tying in the case of the tomato also. Some of the company also tying up with some of the other products. So now these are the benefits directly for the farmers. They are producing the good produce and they are directly selling to the food processor. So there is a exit of the middleman. Middleman hai nahi, so they have the higher benefits now. They are paying the higher prices to those farmers and their farmer income will increase. Promotes the diversification of the crops. As the food processing unit will establish in the country, there is a higher demand for the other kind of the crops. Instead of the wheat and rice, they will focus on some of the millets, some of the other kind of the crops, other kind of the vegetables, which will increase the income of the farmers. Like they are morely focusing on the cash crops as well. They are focused on some of like the good premium vegetables we can say. So they have the high value. They are having the high cost that will increase the income of the farmers. We need to be address these kind of the points, the challenges. In the challenges we address about the supply side issue, we address about the demand side issue, and we also address about the policy related issue and the infrastructure related issue. Then in the case of the opportunity with the food processing sector, we mention about the demand side opportunity in the country, the supply side opportunity in the country, and what the government is doing with relation with the food processing sector. Then the role of food processing sector in the farmer income, how the farmer income can be increased if the food processing sector is very strong in the country. So we mark about the 7-8 points. Even it's about the harvest loss, Even it's about the increasing the opportunity, great export potential and the value addition. So these are some of the points you will write in your answer. If you are writing these points, your answer will be comprehensive. If you have some of the data related to the food processing sector, please try to add the data into the answer. You can take the data from the economic survey. Every year the government is releasing the economic survey and there is a clearly data mentioned about the food processing industry. So in the conclusion part, we can mention the food processing sector is having a higher opportunity in the country. It can help in the exports of the country, it can provide the employment to the country, and it can also help in the increasing in the farmer incomes. You can quote some of the data related to the productions, related to the exports here, related to the employment here. So you can write a balanced conclusion with respect to the challenges and with respect to the opportunity of the food processing sectors. If you're writing all these points, you can get the 5 and maximum 5.5 marks because of the policy of the UPSC. You can get the maximum 50% marks in your answer. If you're not addressing all the parts, you will get only the 2.5 marks. So the question is having the approximately the 4 parts. So if you are addressing the 2 parts clearly and making the diagram for the another 2 parts and completing it, it's okay, because this is a 150 marker question only. So there is no need to explanation, just write the side headings and you can write the data and you can write the examples related to that. That's enough for it. Okay, so this is done for today. We will meet tomorrow again with the new question related to the economy. Request to you, please try to write the answer and submit your answer to the portal. So it can be evaluated by our expert mentor and you will get a suggestion what mistake you did in your answers and how you can improve on that. Okay, bye bye, take care. We will meet tomorrow again at the 6 p.m. Thank you very much everyone.